An.
An. Used to talk about something for the first time. This is a desk. The desk is heavy.
Abacus.
Abacus. A device used for counting and calculating. There were no electronic calculators and we used abacuses.
Abandon.
Abandon. To leave something or someone forever. We had to abandon the old car.
Abandonment.
Abandonment. The act of leaving something or someone forever. The government is trying to prevent abandonment of children.
Abase.
Abase. To make yourself seem to be less important. He abased himself and did what he had been ordered to do.
Abash.
Abash. To make someone feel ashamed. He abashed her by asking questions concerning her private life.
Abate.
Abate. To become or to make something less active and intense. The wind abated.
Abatement.
Abatement. The act of becoming or making something less active and intense. Noise abatement is a very important issue nowadays.
Abattoir.
Abattoir. A building where animals are butchered. The pigs were sent to the abattoir.
Abbreviate.
Abbreviate. To make a word or expression shorter. The United States is often abbreviated to the U.S.
Abbreviation.
Abbreviation. A short form of a word or phrase. USA is an abbreviation of, for United States of America.
Abdicate.
Abdicate. Of a king or queen, to officially give up one's position. The king was forced to abdicate the throne.
Abdomen.
Abdomen. The region of the body between the thorax and the pelvis. She felt a sharp pain in the abdomen.
Abdominal.
Abdominal. Of or relating to or near the abdomen. I need to build up my abdominal muscles.
Abduct.
Abduct. To take someone away using force. The Prime Minister's son was abducted by terrorists last night.
Abecedarian.
Abecedarian. A novice learning the rudiments of some subject. This issue might be too complex for an abecedarian.
Aberrant.
Aberrant. Markedly different from what is usual or normal. He does his best to understand her aberrant behavior.
Aberration.
Aberration. A state or condition markedly different from the norm. A mental aberration.
Abet.
Abet. To encourage or help someone to commit a crime. Did he abet the commission of a crime?
Abettor.
Abettor. One who helps, encourages or incites another to commit a crime. The abettor of a crime is equally guilty as the perpetrator.
Abeyance.
Abeyance. A temporary state of not being used or happening. The matter is in abeyance.
Abhor.
Abhor. To hate a particular way of thinking or behaving. I abhor all forms of discrimination.
Abhorrent.
Abhorrent. Morally very wrong. Who could have committed such an abhorrent crime?
Abide.
Abide. To tolerate something or someone unpleasant. I can't abide him, He's so annoying.
Abiding.
Abiding. Lasting for a long time and not likely to change. She has a deep and abiding love for her parents.
Ability.
Ability. The physical or mental power to do something. She didn't have the ability to say no.
Abject.
Abject. Showing humiliation or submissiveness. Afterwards, he wrote an abject apology to her.
Abjure.
Abjure. To formally reject or disavow a formerly held belief. She abjured her beliefs.
Ablaze.
Ablaze. Experiencing or showing a very strong feeling or emotion. His eyes were ablaze with excitement.
Able.
Able. Having the necessary means or skill to do something. She was able to program her computer.
Ablution.
Ablution. The act of washing oneself. Ablution is a crucial part of this ceremony.
Abnegation.
Abnegation. Renunciation of one's own interests. The monk led a life of total abnegation.
Abnormal.
Abnormal. Not normal, especially in a bad way. He had an abnormal level of testosterone.
Aboard.
Aboard. On a ship, plane, train, bus or other vehicle. There were only 5 passengers aboard.
Abode.
Abode. The place of living. He has no fixed abode.
Abolish.
Abolish. To officially make a law or regulation no longer be in force. Slavery was abolished in the mid-19th century in America.
Abolition.
Abolition. The act of ending officially a system, practice or institution. They fight for the abolition of capital punishment.
Abominable.
Abominable. Extremely bad or unpleasant. This region experienced abominable cruelty during the war.
Abominate.
Abominate. To hate something strongly. Sarah abominated that man after he had run her little dog over.
Aboriginal.
Aboriginal. Being the first of its kind in a certain region. In this region the aboriginal forests are long gone.
Aborigine.
Aborigine. A member of any of the native peoples of Australia. Aborigines arrived to Australia 40,000 years ago.
Abort.
Abort. To terminate a pregnancy when the baby is too young to live. The doctors decided to abort the fetus in order to save the mother.
Abortion.
Abortion. An operation to terminate a pregnancy. The number of illegal abortions has recently increased.
Abortive.
Abortive. Failing to succeed. He made several abortive attempts to escape.
Abound.
Abound. To exist in large quantities. Theories abound about how to prevent cancer.
About.
About. In reference to, concerning. What are you talking about?
Above.
Above. Higher than something else. A bird flew above our heads.
Abracadabra.
Abracadabra. foolish or nonsense talk. I can't listen to this abracadabra any longer.
Abrade.
Abrade. To wear something away by friction. The river gradually abrades the banks.
Abrasion.
Abrasion. A process of damaging some surface by rubbing it away. This material protects the surface of the machine from abrasion.
Abreast.
Abreast. Side by side and facing the same direction. They stood in line abreast.
Abridge.
Abridge. To make a book or other piece of writing shorter. The manuscript must be abridged.
Abridged.
Abridged. Made shorter while the most important elements have been kept. They also published an abridged edition of the book for children.
Abridgment.
Abridgment. A shortened version of a written work. I haven't read the full version, just an abridgment.
Abroad.
Abroad. To or in a foreign country. My brother wants to study abroad.
Abrogate.
Abrogate. To officially end a law, agreement, etc. The treaty was abrogated after 15 years.
Abrogation.
Abrogation. The act of abrogating, an official or legal cancellation. The company permitted the abrogation of all contracts.
Abrupt.
Abrupt. Sudden, unexpected and often unpleasant. We heard an abrupt scream coming from the street.
Abruptly.
Abruptly. Suddenly and without warning. The car stopped abruptly in the middle of the road.
Abscess.
Abscess. A collection of pus formed in a cavity of the body. The liver abscesses require drainage.
Abscond.
Abscond. To secretly leave a place. The thief absconded with our silver.
Absence.
Absence. A state of not being in a particular place or not existing. The absence of snow during last winter was quite surprising.
Absent.
Absent. Not being in a particular place or not existing. She was absent from school last week.
Absenteeism.
Absenteeism. Frequent absence from work. The high level of absenteeism is the main problem of our company.
Absent-minded.
Absent-minded. Tending to forget things or to not notice things. She was so absent-minded that day.
Absinthe.
Absinthe. A green alcoholic drink that has a very strong and bitter flavor. Absinthe was very popular among artists, musicians and writers.
Absolute.
Absolute. Perfect or complete or not limited by anything. There was absolute silence in the room.
Absolution.
Absolution. The act or condition of being formally forgiven by a priest. The priest gave the dying man absolution.
Absolve.
Absolve. To officially free someone from guilt or responsibility. The priest absolved her from her sins.
Absorb.
Absorb. To receive much information and understand it. I can't absorb so much information at once.
Absorbed.
Absorbed. Giving something complete attention. He was absorbed in a book.
Absorbing.
absorbing, interesting and keeping one's attention for a long time. I read her last novel and found it very absorbing.
Absorption.
Absorption. A state of complete attention. I can't understand his absorption in video games.
Abstain.
Abstain. To not do something enjoyable, as drinking alcohol or having sex. He abstains from alcohol for religious reasons.
Abstemious.
Abstemious. Sparing in consumption of especially food and drink. The monk was so abstemious that he ate only once a day.
Abstract.
Existing as an idea, feeling, or quality, not as a material object. It's very difficult to define abstract concepts, such as truth.
Abstracted.
Abstracted. Lost in thought, showing preoccupation. What did you say? She asked with an abstracted stare.
Abstruse.
Abstruse. Very complicated and therefore difficult to understand. The paper is really abstruse. I didn't understand much of it.
Absurd.
Absurd. Completely unreasonable or foolish. He strongly opposes the new law saying it's absurd.
Absurdity.
Absurdity. The state of being ridiculous and unreasonable. She was struck by the absurdity of the situation.
Abundance.
Abundance. A large amount of something. Northern England has an abundance of coal.
Abundant.
Abundant. Present in large quantities so that there is more than needed. We still have an abundant supply of water.
Abuse.
Abuse. Improper or excessive use of something. The abuse of alcohol contributes to many deaths per year in the USA.
Abusive.
Abusive. Characterized by physical or psychological maltreatment. He argued that foster homes are always abusive.
Abut.
Abut. To be next to another building or area of land. England abuts on Scotland.
Abysmal.
Abysmal. Extremely bad. They lived in abysmal poverty.
Abyss.
Abyss. A very big and deep hole in the ground. We stood before the abyss of the canyon.
Academic.
Academic. Of a person, clever and good at studying. I wasn't a very academic child. My grades were rather average.
Accede.
Accede. To agree to a certain demand or proposal. We needed to accede to that request.
Accelerate.
Accelerate. To move or happen faster. The car accelerated and hit a tree.
Accent.
Accent. The relative prominence of a syllable or musical note. He put the accent on the wrong syllable.
Accentuate.
Accentuate. To make a particular feature of something more noticeable. The tight dress accentuated her thin waist.
Accept.
Accept. To agree to something or to receive something. She accepted the gift.
Acceptable.
Acceptable. Good enough or proper for a certain purpose, situation, etc. The price of this car is not acceptable.
Acceptance.
Acceptance. An act or a state of approving something. The government announced its formal acceptance of the project.
Acceptor.
Acceptor. A person or an institution that accepts a check. Who is your acceptor for this transaction?
Access.
Access. The right to enter or use something. I don't have access to such information.
Accessibility.
Accessibility. A quality of being easy to understand. The stadium is accessible via public transportation.
Accessible.
Accessible. Easy to understand. The genre of thriller makes the book accessible to a wider public.
Accession.
Accession. An official act in which someone gains access to new office. Russia has changed a lot since Putin's accession to power.
Accessory.
Accessory. Someone who helps another person commit a crime. He was charged with being an accessory to the crime.
Accident.
Accident. A situation that is not planned in which someone is injured. He was injured in a car accident.
Accidental.
Accidental. Happening by chance rather than planned or intended. 2 men were wounded by an accidental discharge of a gun.
Accidental death.
Accidental death. Used to state that someone's death was not suicide or murder. It was ruled an accidental death.
Acclaim.
Acclaim. To publicly praise or approve someone or something. Her last novel was acclaimed by literary critics.
Acclaimed.
Acclaimed. Of a person or thing, publicly praised or approved. He's a famous author of many critically acclaimed novels.
Acclamation.
Acclamation. Loud, enthusiastic approval. The crowd greeted her with loud acclamation.
Acclivity.
Acclivity. An upward slope or grade, as in a road. Our car couldn't make it up the acclivity.
Accolade.
Accolade. Great praise or approval. There is not greater accolade than that.
Accommodate.
Accommodate. To provide a place to live. We have booked a room to accommodate our guests.
Accommodating.
Accommodating. Helpful and willing to do favors. Don't hesitate to ask him for help, he's very accommodating.
Accommodation.
Accommodation. A place to live, stay, etc. Our company provides accommodation to students.
Accompany.
Accompany. To happen at the same time as something. The disease is usually accompanied by headache.
Accomplice.
Accomplice. A person who helps someone do something wrong. The detectives suspect he was Smith's accomplice in the murder.
Accomplish.
Accomplish. To finish something successfully. After several months they managed to accomplish the task.
Accord.
Accord. An official agreement between countries, groups, etc. The results are in accord with the predictions.
Accordance.
Accordance. A state of agreement. It needs to be done in accordance with the procedure.
According to.
According to. As believed or stated by someone, in agreement with something. According to the passengers, the driver fell asleep.
Accordingly.
Accordingly. In a way that is proper for a certain situation. He is an excellent translator and is paid accordingly.
Accordion.
Accordion. A musical instrument shaped like a box and held in both hands. The musician stood in the street playing the accordion.
Accost.
Accost. To approach someone and speak to them in a threatening way. He was accosted by 3 gang members on the subway.
Account.
Account. A description of a certain event or process. I will give an account of what happened as soon as I'm able to.
Account executive.
Account executive. A person in a company who is in charge of contacts with clients. We are going to hire a new account executive.
Account number.
Account number. A unique number that a bank account has. Give me your account number, please.
Accountability.
Accountability. Responsibility to someone or for a certain activity. The Prime Minister should think about his accountability.
Accountable.
Accountable. Responsible to someone or for a certain activity. The government should be accountable to the society.
Accountancy.
Accountancy. The job of being an accountant. I think I should concentrate on accountancy.
Accountant.
Accountant. An expert in making a financial record of business transactions. After I finish school, I want to be an accountant.
Accounting.
Accounting. Job of keeping the financial records of a business. Accounting is currently a very popular profession.
Accounts.
Accounts. A chronological list of debits and credits. She's the one in charge of our company's accounts.
Accouter.
Accouter. To provide with military equipment. Our army is well accoutred by the government.
Accoutrements.
Accoutrements. The equipment that is necessary for an activity or way of life. A truncheon belongs to the accoutrements of a police officer.
Accredit.
Accredit. To officially approve of someone or something. The school was not accredited by the government.
Accreditation.
Accreditation. Official approval to operate or do something. The commission is responsible for the accreditation of schools.
Accredited.
Accredited. Officially recognized as reaching a certain standard or quality. He's an accredited representative of the Language Commission.
Accretion.
Accretion. A process of gradual increase. The fund was increased by the accretion of £5 million.
Accrual.
Accrual. The act of accumulating over a period of time. An accrual of interest.
Accrue.
Accrue. To accumulate over a period of time. Interest will accrue at a constant rate.
Accumulate.
Accumulate. To collect more and more things. The work keeps accumulating.
Accuracy.
Accuracy. The quality of being near to the true value. The accuracy of this estimation is limited.
Accurate.
Accurate. Very close to fact or truth, without any mistakes. The measurements were very accurate.
Accuse.
Accuse. To say that someone has done something wrong or broken the law. Don't accuse me, it wasn't my fault.
Accuser.
Accuser. A person who claims that someone has done something wrong. Many accusers say they believe the headmaster beats students.
Accustom.
Accustom. To get used to a certain situation. I can't accustom myself to the new place.
Accustomed.
Accustomed. Adapted to a certain situation. She isn't accustomed to being treated like this.
Ace.
Ace. A plain card with a single mark. In this game an ace beats a king.
Asphyllus.
Asphyllus. Lacking a head or clearly defined head. Asphyllus worms.
Acerbic.
Acerbic. Clever and cruel at the same time. He had a talent of criticizing politicians with acerbic wit.
Acerbity.
Acerbity. A quality of being clever and cruel at the same time. He was famous for the acerbity of his reviews.
Acetic.
Acetic. Relating to or containing acetic acid. The acetic acid in vinegar irritates my stomach.
Ache.
Ache. A continuous pain, usually not very strong. That ache in my back is really annoying.
Achieve.
Achieve. To gain something with effort. Thanks to her persistence she achieved her goal.
Acid.
Acid. A slang name for an illegal drug LSD. The police have arrested drug dealers selling acid.
Acid rain.
Acid rain. Rain containing harmful substances. Acid rains are unfortunately very common here.
Acidic.
Acidic. Having a sour taste. The apples aren't fully ripe, so they might taste a bit acidic.
Acidulous.
Acidulous. Moderately sour to the taste. A fruit drink with a pleasantly acidulous taste.
Acknowledge.
Acknowledge. To admit or recognize the existence of something. You need to acknowledge her effort, she helped us a lot.
Acknowledgement.
Acknowledgement. The act of admitting or recognizing something as true. He never expressed acknowledgement of the problem.
Acme.
Acme. The highest level or degree attainable. His landscapes were deemed the acme of beauty.
Acne.
Acne. A skin disease, in which small, red spots appear. Acne is a common problem among teenagers.
Acolyte.
Acolyte. Someone who assists a priest or minister in a liturgical service. 2 acolytes carried the candlesticks.
Acorn.
Acorn. Fruit of the oak tree. The children were collecting acorns in conkers.
Acoustic.
Acoustic. Relating to the sound, its properties and the way it is heard. We chose this hall because of its acoustic properties.
Acoustics.
Acoustics. The properties of a room that affect the qualities of sound. We need to find a venue with better acoustics.
Acquaint.
Acquaint. To become familiar with something. You need to acquaint yourself with our policies.
Acquaintance.
Acquaintance. A person you know but not very well. I found out about the event from my acquaintance.
Acquainted.
Acquainted. Knowing a particular person or being familiar with them. Were you acquainted with my sister, Lucy?
Acquiesce.
Acquiesce. To accept or agree to something. The maestro acquiesced to the request for an encore.
Acquiescence.
Acquiescence. Agreement with a statement. He gave his acquiescence eagerly.
Acquiescent.
Acquiescent. Willing to carry out the orders. He was too acquiescent to challenge authority.
Acquire.
Acquire. To come into possession of something. She acquired a new painting.
Acquired.
Acquired. Obtained through environmental forces. Lamarck believed that acquired characteristics can be passed on.
Acquisition.
Acquisition. The act of gaining a certain object or knowledge, experience. Dali's very last painting is a recent acquisition by the gallery.
Acquisitive.
Acquisitive. Wanting to possess a lot of things. We live in an acquisitive society.
Acquit.
Acquit. To decide that someone is not guilty. The suspect was acquitted of murder charges.
Acquittal.
Acquittal. The decision of a court that someone is not guilty. The trial ended in acquittal.
Acquittance.
Acquittance. A verdict of not guilty. The judge announced the decision about their acquittance.
Acre.
Acre. A unit of area equal to approximately 0.4 hectare. She's got 500 acres of land in Spain.
Acres.
Acres. A large area of land that the owner keeps for their own use. Her acres include a pond and an orchard.
Acrid.
Acrid. Criticizing someone and expressing anger. She could no longer stand his acrid remarks and started crying.
Acrimonious.
Acrimonious. Involving people who get very angry and argue a lot. The acrimonious dispute continued for many hours.
Acrimony.
Acrimony. Feelings of anger. The dispute began again with increased acrimony.
Acrobat.
Acrobat. An athlete who performs acts requiring skill and coordination. The children were thrilled with the acrobat's performance.
Acronym.
Acronym. A word formed from the first letters of the several words. NATO is an acronym for the North Atlantic Treaty Organization.
Across.
Across. On, at, or from the other side of. She looked across the room at the clock.
Across the board.
Across the board. Concerning everyone or everything in a certain situation. Across the board price increases.
Act.
Act. A legal document. This decision was based on the Act of Parliament of 1997.
Acting.
Acting. Performing a job for a short time. I'm an acting manager during my boss's maternity leave.
Action.
Action. A series of events that form the plot of a novel, movie, etc. Most of the action takes place in Berlin.
Action-packed.
Action-packed. Full of interesting and exciting events. His latest book is a compelling, Action-packed thriller.
Activate.
Activate. To make something start working. The alarm was activated by cigarette smoke.
Activation.
Activation. The act of making start working. Mechanical pressure may result in activation of a bomb.
Active.
Active. Always busy doing many things. He is still very active despite his age.
Activity.
Activity. Any action or behavior done for pleasure or to achieve an aim. I like outdoor activities such as cycling.
Actor.
Actor. A man performing in a film or play. My favorite actor is Mel Gibson.
Actress.
Actress. A woman performing in a film or play. She won an Oscar for the Best Actress.
Actual.
Actual. Happening or existing in reality, not pretended. The actual temperature differed from the predicted one.
Actually.
Actually. In actual fact, in reality. No one actually saw the shark.
Actuary.
Actuary. Someone who calculates risk of certain accidents. Chief actuary.
Actuate.
Actuate. To make a machine start working. The bomb may be actuated by heat.
Acumen.
Acumen. The ability to think quickly and make correct decisions. A manager needs to have good business acumen.
Acute.
Acute. Very serious, strong or intense. The pain was so acute I could barely speak.
Ad nauseum.
Ad nauseum. To a sickening extent. He played the song ad nauseum.
Ad valorem.
Ad valorem. Calculated in proportion to the value of certain goods. The goods were taxed ad valorem.
Adage.
Adage. A commonly known phrase that says some truth about life. As the old adage says, practice makes perfect.
Adagio.
Adagio. A composition played slowly and gracefully. They played the adagio too quickly.
Adamant.
Adamant. Unwilling to change one's opinion or decision. I begged her to change her decision, but she remained adamant.
Adapt.
Adapt. To change something to suit a new purpose. We need to adapt our program to the new operating system.
Adaptable.
Adaptable. Able to change in order to be successful in new situations. This fish is adaptable to many different water conditions.
Adaptation.
Adaptation. A film or television program that is based on a written work. She starred in a film adaptation of a best-selling novel.
Add.
Add. To give more so as to increase in size, quantity. Please add more spices to the cake.
Addendum.
Addendum. Textual matter that is added on to a publication. The letters are included as an addendum to the biography.
Addict.
Addict. A person who cannot stop taking a particular drug. My nephew is a complete video game addict.
Addicted.
Addicted. Unable to stop taking a particular drug. He is addicted to cocaine.
Addiction.
Addiction. The state of being abnormally tolerant to something. Alcohol addiction is a serious social problem.
Addictive.
Addictive. Making you unable to stop taking or doing that particular thing. This drug is highly addictive.
Addition.
Addition. A thing that is added to something, usually improving it. With his experience, he will be a useful addition to the team.
Additional.
Additional. Being something more than was expected or agreed, extra. We need some additional dishes.
Additive.
Additive. A substance added to food in order to improve its taste. We don't use artificial additives.
Addle.
Addle. To confuse someone, preventing them from thinking clearly. I think the heat has addled your brains.
Addled.
Addled. Confused and unable to think clearly. This task is too difficult for his alcohol-addled brain.
Add-on.
Add-on. A supplementary component that is added to something to improve it. I've bought the newest add-on to that application.
Address.
Address. The place where you can find a person or organization. Fill in your name and address.
Addressee.
Addressee. A person to whom something, for example a letter, is addressed. Who is the addressee of this letter?
Adduce.
Adduce. To advance evidence for something. None of the evidence adduced convinced me.
Adduction.
Adduction. The act of moving a body part towards the central axis of the body. Recommended exercises include leg rotation and adduction.
Adept.
Adept. Good at something that requires knowledge and skill. He is an adept juggler.
Adequate.
Adequate. Good enough for a certain purpose. The food wasn't adequate.
Adhere.
Adhere. To be compatible with or to obey a rule, maintain a certain belief. You need to adhere to the rules.
Adherent.
Adherent. A person who supports a particular belief, political view. He's an adherent of the Catholic Church.
Adhesive.
Adhesive. A substance that is sticky and can be used to glue things together. I've bought a strong adhesive to mend the broken table.
Adipose.
Adipose. Composed of animal fat. Adipose tissue.
Adjacent.
Adjacent. Situated next to something else. We work in adjacent buildings.
Adjoin.
Adjoin. To be next to something else, especially touching it. Mexico adjoins the U.S.
Adjoining.
Adjoining. Situated next to something else, especially touching it. Me and my friend would like to stay in adjoining rooms.
Adjourn.
Adjourn. To suspend a formal meeting or gathering. The meeting was adjourned at 11.
Adjournment.
Adjournment. An act of suspending or terminating a formal meeting or gathering. New evidence in the case resulted in adjournment of the trial.
Adjudicate.
Adjudicate. To officially judge who is right in a disagreement. The father adjudicated the son's dispute over their inheritance.
Adjunct.
Adjunct. Something that is added to something larger or more important. Teaching English is just an adjunct to my office work.
Adjunct professor.
Adjunct professor. A person teaching who is hired for a fixed period of time. Contracts of 4 adjunct professors at our college will expire.
Adjuration.
Adjuration. A solemn and earnest appeal to someone to do something. John's public adjuration for help remained unresponded.
Adjure.
Adjure? To ask or try to persuade someone to do something. She adjured him to tell the truth.
Adjust.
Adjust. To adapt oneself to new conditions. We must adjust to the bad economic situation.
Adjuster.
Adjuster. A person who investigates insurance claims or claims for damages. He used to work as an adjuster.
Adjustment.
Adjustment. An act of regulating something. The machine still needs a few adjustments.
Adjutant.
Adjutant. A military officer who is responsible for office work. He served in the British Army as an adjutant.
Ad-lib.
Ad-lib. Said with little or no preparation or forethought. His ad-lib comments showed poor judgment.
Adman.
Adman. A person who works in advertising. He is an adman.
Admass.
Admass. A part of the society that is easily influenced by mass media. We have to base our advertising campaign on the admass.
Administer.
Administer. To give a medicine. This drug needs to be administered by a syringe.